Christian compels me, and I love it for it, to be against discrimination of any kind in our country.
Our rights come from nature and God, not from government.
All God asks of you is faithfulness, faithfulness, faithfulness.
Fighting for the family, standing for the church, laboring to return to a moral and biblically based culture.
This is the American Family Association at AFA Today.
And we welcome you to the New York City studios in the shadow of the Freedom Tower at World Trade Center, just next to the cemetery at Trinity Church here in Lower Manhattan. We are grateful to be able to come to you every weekday here in the belly of the news beast, I like to say. Kevin McCullough is my name, and welcome to a brand new week of AFA Today here on AFR Talk. As we've been looking at this month in the recent weeks building up to it, we've got a number of things that are becoming very evident to us. One is the Super Bowl is now less than 7 days away. Everybody knew that. And it's going to be played in the coldest temperatures it's been played in probably, 50 years. It's going to be a very, very brutally cold week. And what it's going to be like on Sunday, we think it's going to be moderately cold, but it's for people that are used to going and getting suntans at the Super Bowl, it's going to be extremely different for average Super Bowl attendees. But let me go one step further on this. It is so interesting about the circumstances in which we live, because the State of the Union is just around the corner, and the president has decided that he is going to do a couple of things in his State of the Union address. One of them is he is going to actually address the growing threat of global warming. We are in the second of two polar vortexes, making it one of the coldest winters in America in our history. And we're going to spend time in the State of the Union on global warming. Some people just do not learn. Chicago's wind chill today, minus 45. This newest polar vortex that's settling in, probably the winter's coldest. Well, it will be the winter's coldest to date, maybe the coldest in record numbers of years. But we're going to talk about global warming, the State of the Union address. Kevin McCullough is my name. Thank you for being here. 888-589-8840, 888-589-8840. Did you watch any television yesterday? There were some interesting things happening all over the place yesterday. For instance, we had the Grammys last night. You remember the Grammys? The Grammys, where nobody knows most of the artists that are performing now. At least that's what everybody in my Facebook feed kept saying. Who are these people? I've never heard of these artists, et cetera, et cetera. Well, evidently somebody has, and that's why they get invited. I'm not quite sure, but they decided to marry off, I think it was 37 gay couples in the middle of the event last night. So now we can't just award excellence in music. We got to get our freaky on for the primetime audience because this is so much of what America wants, right? This is where we're at as a nation. This is what we want our common everyday occurrence to be about. Talking about somebody's freakish sex lives and why that must be. It must be. You will be made to care. It must be not only accepted, but approved of. Because we're going to put it in every corner of the American consciousness if you don't approve of it. And again, friends, this is sad. It's a needed reminder, but I come to you from the media capital of the universe, and one of the reasons that I think it's important that we do this broadcast from this place is because we need to shine more light into that very dark world. And it is dark. So the Grammys freakishly, as some sort of circus sideshow, putting people's sexuality into primetime television last night. And it wasn't just enough that they had Queen Latifah administering the ceremony, and then they had to have all those close-ups of people, making out with one another. This is on broadcast television. This is This is primetime fare on Sunday night. This is the number one most watched primetime evening television evening of the week, and this is what we're about now. This is America. Does that make it? Does that warm the cockles of your heart? You all happy about this? That this is where we've come from, and it's now where we're at, and who knows what is yet to come. There's something else that happened on television yesterday. I'm just kind of, yesterday in review. Senator Ted Cruz appeared on CBS, same CBS that had the wacky gay marriage thing in the middle of the Grammys last night. Same CBS faced the nation yesterday morning, and he got a lot of questions from Bob Schieffer, the octogenarian that he is, oxygenarian, I should say. Because you got he's so old. I think they have to literally have him sitting on props to hold him upright. But because Bob Schieffer, he knew Moses. Who knew? But he did. He knew Moses, and so now they have him every Sunday morning. I'm Bob Schieffer on CBS, and Schieffer was just pelting him as fast as someone of Schieffer's incredible age is able to, about his involvement in the government shutdown. And apart from being the victim of Schieffer's accusations that the Tea Party senator was to blame for the shutdown, it also appears Mr. Cruz was the victim of editing by CBS. Get this, Newsbusters is all over this today. Based on video from Senator Cruz's YouTube page and what aired on Face the Nation's broadcast, the senator's comments surrounding President Obama's abuse of power were edited from the program. Instead, what aired was a segment that ignored many of the senator's complaints directed at the president. In the video that aired on CBS, the interview between Schieffer and Cruz ended with a back and forth of all about Schieffer asking him if Cruz is going to run for president. And he says, well, look, my focus is on challenges facing the country right now. My focus, for example, is on the abuse of the power from the president. Let's take something like the IRS scandal. Bob Schieffer interrupts and says, so I'll take that as a no. Ted Cruz, 8 months ago, Bob Schieffer, or still thinking about it. Ted Cruz, well, what you can take that as is that my focus is standing and fighting right now in the Senate to bring back jobs and economic growth. Economic growth is my number one priority. Thank you so much for joining us, and we'll talk to you again, said Bob Schieffer. That's what aired. But what was left out, both of those sections where Cruz talks, much longer paragraphs of text. For instance, when he says he's standing right there in the Senate and fight to bring back jobs and economic growth, he says, let me tell you something that is deeply concerning. The abuse of power from this administration. We've seen multiple filmmakers prosecuted, and the government's gone after them. Whether it's the poor fella that did the film that the president blamed Benghazi for and the terrorist attacks on, turns out that wasn't the reason for the attack, but the administration went and put that poor fellow in jail. Just this week, it was broken that Dinesh D'Souza, who did a very big movie criticizing the president, is now being prosecuted by the administration. Schieffer interrupts and says, Senator. Cruz goes on, can you imagine the reaction if the Bush administration had done the same thing, prosecuting Michael Moore, Alec Baldwin, or Sean Penn? Schieffer again says, Senator. Cruz again, it should trouble everyone that the government uses government power and the IRS in particular to target their enemies, and you are talking you're talking new minutes, a few minutes to Chuck Schumer, and he was going to leave that for another day, said Schieffer, and so forth. But they left out all of
Genesis, teaching history and more. This is Ken Ham, an Aussie transplant with a passion for God's Word and the Gospel. I've noticed a common tactic among Bible scholars who don't hold to a literal Genesis. They say that Genesis teaches theological lessons, not history. But the apostles referred to Genesis 1 as an historical account, and they showed that Genesis directs us to eternal spiritual truths. For example, the apostle Paul wrote, for God, who said, let light shine out of darkness, has shone in our hearts. Paul clearly believed Genesis is historical and that it reflects how God saves sinners. You see, if we deny the history in Genesis, then we undermine the other truths that it points to. What else can we learn from the history book of the universe? Well, that's tomorrow.
Want to know more about the history in Genesis, plus the full-size Noah's Ark we're building? Visit our website, answersingenesis.org. That's answersingenesis.org.
Many churches today are leaving behind essential marks of a genuine church, pursuing growth techniques and man-made agendas for church success, rather than join the 3,500 plus churches closing their doors last year alone. The 2014 G3 conference in Douglasville, Georgia addresses the doctrine of a church from a biblical perspective.
It will cost you an easy life. You will have to discipline yourself. You will have to say no to temptation. You will have to say no to this world. You will have to be willing to stand alone for Christ. You'd be willing to stand if you're the only person in the world for Jesus Christ. That's the cost factor.
The G3 conference themed The Church. January 23rd through the 25th, Praise Mill Baptist Church in Douglasville, Georgia. Registration is limited as seating is limited. More information can be found at g3conference.com. That's g3conference.com.
All right, evidently we lost our feed there, and what I was saying is that we're going to, so Brent, are we going to take the normal break at 19? Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to take our break, and then we're going to come back and we're going to focus on prayer, and then there's another subject, another story that I want to get to today, because it is rather remarkable that even in advance of the State of the Union address, that the White House yesterday had spokespeople, their little circus barkers out there on the talk show circuit, basically announcing to the nation that they are going to do something that I'm not sure any president has ever announced that they were going to do before. And I'm just curious as to what you think about how that's going to work, and I'll give you the details on that. But before I go, let me take Kevin's call from Texas real quick, because he was hearing me talk about global warming a little bit earlier. Hi, Kevin. Welcome. You're on AFA Today.
Thank you, Kevin, for taking my call. And I got to tell you, I appreciate everything you're doing. I thank God for you every day.
Thank you, sir.
You're quite welcome. And I'm actually a climatologist, and, you know, they use the term global warming. It's really not correct. It should just be called climate change, because, you know, and I hear you talking about the cold everywhere, and it is extreme, but the warming does affect the Gulf Stream, and it also affects the oceans and the tides. And it actually could turn it either way. It could either turn the planet into a desert or another ice age. You know, but it is a real thing. Maybe not as serious as the president is making it sound. I'm not an Obama fan at all. But it is a real thing, and I don't think enough credence or credit is actually given to it, you know, because a lot of people just don't understand it.
Well, Kevin, here's the thing. Thank you for your very kind words. I do believe that the Earth goes through cycles of getting warmer and then cooling down, and we've been able to track that. Meteorologists and climatologists have seen that for the last number of years. What I am thoroughly unconvinced, and still have, there's still not been convincing data to back it up, is that any of it is caused by the mere efforts of mortal men. There was a group, this is the best irony you can imagine. There was a group that was on its way up to the North Pole today, this year, to observe the reduction, quote unquote, in polar cap ice. Their boat got stuck in 7 feet of ice, and they had to be rescued from the boat that was taking them up to see the less ice that was actually more at the North Pole, and it didn't work out because they had to be rescued and brought back. Long story short, I don't know that it is a priority to the degree that the president wants to make it one in his State of the Union, but that'll just be one of the things he discusses. I think the other thing that I want to talk to you about today that he wants to bring up is actually going to be far more damaging to our nation, and I'll explain why when we continue. But first, we're going to take a look at our prayer focus. All that straight ahead. It's AFA Today. Stay with us on AFR Talk.